you today 2 books that I chose to share with my students this year when we were working on building a class community. And both books that I chose actually received Coretta Scott King honors. And the first book is called Each Kindness. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it is by Jacqueline Woodson, illustrated by E.B. Lewis. And what happens in this book, there's a character, Maya, and she's the new kid at school, and the narrator, Chloe, does not necessarily treat her outwardly poorly, but she's not very kind to her. She never smiles back at her. She never really invites her to play with her. And towards the end of the story, Maya ends up leaving school, and Chloe feels regret that she never was kind to this girl because the writing never explicitly says it, but you get the idea that she ended up leaving school because she really had no friends and people were not very kind to her. So it was written in kind of short stanzas. It was very poem-like, and the text itself was not all that complicated. It was very to the point, and I feel like it conveyed the mood very well. But my students were able to kind of read between the lines to get the feeling of the story. A couple of my favorite lines were here, when the teacher in the story says, "Each little thing we do goes out like a ripple into the world." And right here when it says, "Each kindness makes the whole world a little bit better." The illustrations in here I couldn't find in the book, but it looks like they're watercolor. They're very soft, and they are very moody. My students definitely liked to look at them, especially that one. You kind of get a lonely feeling, and they definitely added to the text. Let's see. The characters themselves were complex, and they were dealing with things that my students deal with a lot at school, so it was very relatable to them, and they really loved it, and it has ended up being something that we refer to often in our class, and it has lent itself to reading multiple times, and every time we read it, we learn something new, so we thought it was really great quality, and it will be something we read again and again. The second book that I am sharing today is called The Secret Olivia Told Me. It's by N. Joy, and the illustrations are by Nancy DeVard. In this story, Olivia tells the narrator, whose name we actually never find out, a secret in the very beginning of the story, and the narrator tells someone else the secret, who tells someone else the secret, and it keeps passing down and down until the secret isn't the same secret anymore. And the narrator has to tell Olivia that she told her secret, and that she's very sorry, and hopes that they can still be friends. And in the end, they both learn the lesson that don't tell a single person a secret or it won't be a secret anymore. But that's just one of the lessons learned throughout the story. I think another one that my students were able to relate to was the fact that the narrator kind of messed up, but she took it upon herself to tell her friend the truth because that was the right thing to do, was the quote from the story. So the text in the story is actually quite simple. It's really only written in a couple lines at a time, and it's rhyming, which was engaging. My students liked that a lot. And I think because the text itself was simple to decode, it was validating for my students who struggle with reading. They were able to see that a book that they can read independently is a book that's worthy to share with everyone. And there was a lot of figurative language in there. In the very beginning, she talks about the narrator hears the secret, and she says, "It's such a great secret, I thought my head might swell." And then the part that my students really loved about the story, their favorite thing, was the pictures. And you can see all the characters are illustrated in black and white, and there is a red balloon throughout the story, And as the secret makes its way to more and more people, you can see that the balloon grows. And finally, in the end, the balloon bursts. And my students decided that that symbolized the secret being told over and over again. And in the end, the secret wasn't even the same secret that they had heard in the beginning. So it was set kind of all different places that my students themselves might hang out. It was at school, it was at home, and it was probably current. They were really able to relate to the characters. My students were able to empathize with both Olivia and the narrator. We talked about how at some point each student had been the person who told the secret, and each person had also been the student who had had one of their secrets shared. So they were definitely able to learn from it and connect to it, and overall we thought it was a great book, and it's also another one that we've referred to repeatedly. So again, the two books were Each Kindness and The Secret Olivia Told Me, and my students and I would recommend them.